What's up, YouTube? Jonathan Pariente, the Execution 10 here, coming at you guys with another video. And first, want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, very Happy New Year. And I wanted to dive in a little bit with the NFL. Usually, I've done baseball videos, and obviously, I'll have more as we go. The baseball season's hit a bit of a dead period for now, so I think now's as good a time as any for the NFL. And let's dive into the NFL and let's briefly, I'll just go through the season and, well, it's kind of been a year to forget. Everything that's kind of gone on with the injuries to star players, concussions, what's a catch in the NFL anymore, and basically the whole social inequality with the national anthem players taking a knee. I'm not diving into the politics about that, but that's been the NFL season of 2017, 2018 in a nutshell. It's been kind of a lost year, a year to forget, and can the NFL bounce back? We'll see. But right now I'm diving into the playoffs. One more week to go in the NFL season. The playoffs are right around the corner. And briefly, I'm just going to share with you my thoughts on each of the playoff teams up to this point. There's still a couple spots left to be determined. Right now, the playoffs are beginning to take shape now. The last games today just finished up, so let's kind of first dive in with the AFC, and I'll give you my thoughts on where that's going first. Well, the one seed is no surprise New England. Tom Brady continues to amaze. Rob Gronkowski has been healthy all year for the most part. And the Patriots really just play the typical Patriots football. They've also been helped by three controversial overturns on catches. As for the reason I say just what is a catch anymore, it's odd that all three of them have been with the New England Patriots. I just think it's something's up in Beantown. It ain't Spygate. And everybody's gonna say, "Oh, this is just another non-Patriots fan saying his garb, like, oh, New England's cheating again." Listen, Patriot fans. I don't care what fans. I don't care if you even are Patriot fans or not. I could probably imagine half of you aren't, but I'm sure I'm gonna get a big comment on the bottom about this. And go ahead, bring it on. But let's just be real here. New England's had its moments, but to have three games where it seemed like a call every time went in New England's favor, something just ain't right. Something just isn't right. I mean, no team can get that kind of luck in three games. I'm sorry. You're going to say, oh, it's not a catch. All those three plays were not catches. Those three catches, if you take away those three plays, New England has five losses. I mean, let's just be real here. New England's not played like a team that has that's been dominating all year. I'm sorry. New England's not blowing people away like for the most part, they usually have done in the past. They've had to squeak a few wins out. Let's be very real. Three of them, as I just mentioned, on plays that should have been called. So, but New England finds a way to win, regardless of how crazy it is. Brady is Brady. All the credit in the world, as much as probably everybody will hate to admit. But New England's the one seed. No surprise. We'll see if they clinch the home field advantage. They still have one more game to play against the Jets. And we'll see how far New England goes. Obviously, another favorite to win the Super Bowl year again. But I think their road to the Super Bowl doesn't guarantee them they're going to win. As for the number two seed, well, I'm wearing their jersey, the Steelers. And It's quite an incredible team the Steelers are, and there's a reason I wear their jersey. Even though I'm really a Jet fan, I'm also a Steelers fan, just because of the way both teams, if you're the Jets and the Steelers, I know the Jets aren't in, but them and the Steelers play a very, very similar style of football. They play the game the way you're supposed to play the game. Hard hitting, great running game, power running game, and a dynamic defense. Now, Steelers have had the edge over those years, despite with because they have drafted great quarterbacks and wide receivers. But them and the Jets have a similar philosophy of what kind of players they like to put on the field and how they like to play to that extent, particularly just running backs and the great defense. Those are very big similarities, and we'll see. For the Steelers, we're going to see where that takes them this year. Unfortunately, they did suffer a big injury with Antonio Brown. That's going to be that's going to be interesting to see once he comes back. The Steelers clinched the first round bye, so that's big for Brown to get that week off before their next playoff game, and we'll see how Brown is. I doubt he'll be 100%, but just having him on the field could be big. And Big Ben has already proven he can win without Brown. He has enough wide receiving talent that he can throw the ball to, and as long as you have a good quarterback that can get the football to your receivers, that at the end of the day still makes your team dangerous, even if your star wide receiver is not there. The Steelers have enough weaponry they can throw the football to. They have Le'Veon Bell who can run the ball. And you have Martavis Bryant, you have Juju Smith-Schuster, you have Vance McDonald, you have Jesse James. The Steelers have enough depth on offense where they can beat you in any category. It doesn't matter if they run it or throw it. As long as they have Big Ben, Steelers have a chance. We'll see what they do in the next round. That will be very curious. That will be a very interesting spot for the Steelers. Then we go down the line. Let's look at the AFC South, and right now the Jacksonville Jaguars are closing in. They've clinched their spot. They've clinched the AFC South. Really one of the surprise teams. Blake Bortles has had a nice year, very impressive. Leonard Fournette has cemented himself as their new star running back, and they found some good weaponry at wide receiver with Dede Westbrook, with Keelan Cole, and obviously losing Allen Hurns was big. But we'll see how Jacksonville can fare. Are they probably going to be a first round and out? Might be, but we'll see how Blake Bortles will handle his first playoff game. He has not played in a playoff yet, so this will be interesting for Jacksonville, and we'll have to see. We'll see what they're made out of. Tom Coughlin's not coaching the team, but he's in the front office with Jacksonville, so I wouldn't consider Jacksonville just a rollover and out team, but some surprises could be thrown our way, and we'll see what Jacksonville can bring to the table. Then as we continue further down, we look at the AFC West. Still, a little battle for that is up for grabs, but the Kansas City Chiefs right now are ahead in the West, and very likely so are going to be obviously that dangerous team. Alex Smith has had just an incredible year. It's incredible how it took a longer time for Alex Smith to become that elite quarterback, and he really has evolved, and he's just become, one of the great stories in the game, from a guy that really looked like a bust after 5 years in, but he figured it out, and Alex Smith has just great weapons at his disposal with Travis Kelce, with Kareem Hunt, the young rookie. He's having a great year, and having Tyreek Hill now as part of their offense, not just on special teams. The Chiefs are going to be a very, very tough out on the AFC. They are not to be taken light. They've proven they can be in the playoffs, so they've proven how deep they can go. And of course, you play in Arrowhead. That's about as equally loud a ballpark as Heinz Field. It's about as loud a stadium to play in as Gillette. About as loud as also playing in Seattle. So they have really they really haven't disappointed, and we'll see where Andy Reid takes them. We'll see how deep the Chiefs can go. They have a defense that can flat out stop the run. They have a defense that can force turnovers. So I would not consider the Chiefs in any way as low, even though they don't have the highest seed. They're going to be dangerous. End of the story. Moving down the board, the San Diego Chargers and the Tennessee Titans are fighting for one of the two wild card spots. At the end of the day, will be interesting to see which of the two grabs it. I say it's going to be the Chargers. Philip Rivers just has the experience. I'm not sure about Marcus Mariota. He's very up and down. And the Titans do they have that team that just says to you they're going to make an impact? I'm just not so sure about that. And Chargers, Philip Rivers has been dying to get back into the playoffs, and unfortunately, they did lose Hunter Henry, which is a big loss, but having Antonio Gates still there, that gives Rivers that security blanket back the old connection that they've had for years. And of course, Melvin Gordon at running back. The Chargers are going to have, if they can get in, more importantly, they're going to get in if they get in with nothing to lose. Don't be surprised if the Chargers find a way. They can go. They found a way to get. They find ways to get into the playoffs in the past. As long as you have Philip Rivers, they have Keenan Allen, they have Tyrell Williams, they have enough depth in that offense that they can score. So I would not be shocked if the Chargers find a way to get in, and could they go deep in the playoffs? I could see them maybe going to. If they get as far as the championship game, then I think we'll have something to say. I don't think the Chargers are to be taken lightly. They've been on a nice run of late. They started off slow, and that's usually what they've done in the past, but they found ways to win games from that point on, and they won 7 out of 9. They won 8 out of 10 now since, so I would not in any way be counting the Chargers out of a playoff spot. And then right behind them, the Baltimore Ravens are fighting for a wild card spot too. They pretty much are. They have one of the wild card spots already. And tell you what, another team that finds a way to get in are the Ravens. And if they get in, even though Joe Flacco's not had a great year, they don't have quite the running game you'd expect. But Javorius Allen, Alex Collins, they're not the typical running game that would like flat out give you 100 yards a game. But the Ravens are the Ravens. And with their defense, with Terrell Suggs, with Joe Flacco at the helm, and with John Harbaugh at the helm, you don't count the Ravens out. The Ravens are a punishing defense. They play just as physical as the Steelers do. And if you're going to Baltimore with them in the playoffs, better look out. This Ravens team knows how to win in the playoffs. They've won a Super Bowl already. So do not consider the Ravens an afterthought going into this year. So that's the AFC side, and now we'll go into the NFC. We'll start with the number 1 seed, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. Congratulations to them. They clinched their playoffs. They've clinched their home field advantage spot in the playoffs with a win today against Oakland. It was not one of their best played games, but they found a way to win. That's all that matters. Now, unfortunately, not having Carson Wentz is, that's going to be big. How deep can the Eagles go with Nick Foles? Well, that guess is as good as mine. They have a great defense. They've had a great defense all year. They're 13-2 this year. And the way they found ways to win games is what makes the Eagles so dangerous. Upgrading their offense like they did was huge this year. Alshon Jeffrey, having Torrey Smith in addition, Zach Ertz is having a great year. Jake Long is having a tremendous season. And just the overall team play of this Eagles team makes them a very big threat. If they had Carson Wentz, I would have said this team could go deep. Could they go to the Super Bowl, maybe even win it? Very possible. That was if they had Carson Wentz. Without him, we'll have to see. I don't know if Nick, as great as Nick Foles has experience. That's the most important thing. But is he a guy that I think could take them all the way? Eagles will have to get a few breaks their way if they're going to even break the Super Bowl. That's going to be a very big thing now for them without Carson Wentz. But we'll see. Perhaps the Eagles will surprise a few people. They've been to a Super Bowl before, just have not won it. It's been a good 13 years, going on 14 years since they last appeared in a Super Bowl. You can imagine they want to face New England again and get back what they lost 14 years ago. Diving into the rest of the NFC, number 2 seed right behind the Eagles are the Vikings. They've clinched their first round bye and clinched the NFC North, and they are going to be probably one of the other most dangerous teams. While they may not have the blow-me-away offense that teams like the Saints, who are also in, Carolina could score on you in many ways, and those Seahawks, while they don't have that kind of offense, they don't need to have that kind of offense. All they need to have is a powerful defense, which they have. They have 2 dynamic running backs, Jerick McKinnon and Latavius Murray. They're both very good running backs. They can just bruise defenses, and at this stage in the playoffs, a running game is what you need to have. And Case Keenum, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, as long as he gets the ball to his playmakers, such as Kyle Rudolph, Adam Thielen, and Stephon Diggs, you like the Vikings' chances, and it's quite incredible not having Bridgewater, but Keenum's done a tremendous job in his place. So they had Bradford last year. Sam Bradford, he got hurt. And Case Keenum's really righted the ship for them this year. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings can surprise a few people this year in the playoffs. And maybe, how deep can they go? If they play great defense, and if Case Keenum does his job, I would say the Vikings could maybe go to at least the championship game. I would like to see, by the way, an Eagles-Vikings championship game. I think that would be quite nice to see, but there's still other teams in this race that I'm about to dive into now. The Carolina Panthers, if they're on a mission to win the Super Bowl, and if they get hot like they are now, look out for Carolina. As long as they have Cam Newton, as long as they have a running game, and they found a new weapon when they drafted Christian McCaffrey, combining him with Jonathan Stewart, and along with Cam himself, they have a triple threat at running back. And the scary part is when they choose to run the ball, you better be ready for their run game. Their running game is about as deadly as any in the NFL. If you put them up there with the other team I'm going to mention in the Rams, their playmakers can do a lot of damage. And having Greg Olsen back is just an extra insurance policy for Cam Newton to throw the football to, in addition to Devin Funchess. Even though they dealt Kelvin Benjamin this during the season, I just feel that really didn't hurt Carolina at all. Everybody thought, it was going to hurt Carolina. Their chances of going deep were dead. But getting Olsen back and having Devin Funchess be one of the main targets now as well, and allowing the running game to thrive with the defense they have, Carolina is going to be about as dangerous of a team as any to deal with in the playoffs. And we'll see really where how deep they go. And with Cam Newton, I know they're on a mission, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get back to the Super Bowl. It's been a couple of years, and Cam Newton, I think, is really, learned from that Super Bowl now more than ever. And he doesn't have to throw for 300 yards and just dominate everybody like he did with his arm 2 years ago. He can do it with his legs too. That part of his game is still there. So we'll be curious where Carolina goes and how deep Cam Newton will take them. Then you have New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees at the helm. And what can you say about Drew Brees? fastest guy to get to 70,000 yards. And just to have the offense that he has with Alvin Kamara, with Ingram, with Mark Ingram, and then to have weaponry right around him, and to have weaponry in the wide receiving core, to have Michael Thomas, to have Fleener, to have just all these extra weapons down the field. And this Saints team can put up 30 points a game, and they have actually now a good defense to back up that offense as well. So this isn't one of those teams that just needs to score 40 points every night and have to win shootout games. They can beat you with their defense. They have playmakers that can beat you that can beat you on the defensive side. They force turnovers, and Drew Brees, if he plays mistake free, and if he gets on a roll, which he always does, the Saints are going to be the scariest team to face if you're any opponent that has to deal with them in the next round. The Saints are going to showcase their offensive capabilities. Sean Payton at the helm again. If teams don't look out, the Saints will go marching in. And they may go marching in all the way to Super Bowl 52. And then finally, the NFC West, and the real surprise team, I think, that really has taken the world by storm, the Los Angeles Rams. A couple years ago, the Rams looked like just looked like the AFC's Browns. They couldn't win a game. They had no offense. They couldn't get a quarterback for their life. Last year, they drafted a quarterback they thought was going to be, it looked like he was going to be a bust. Guy named Jared Goff. Boy, what a difference a year makes, and with a new head coach at the helm. The Los Angeles Rams, if nobody has heard of them, they will hear of them in the playoffs. And more importantly, this is a team with nothing to lose. Nobody even expected the Rams to win the West. Nobody expected the Rams to be here. But as long as now they have Todd Gurley and the insane year he's had, and not just to run the ball, but to catch the ball and hurdle over defenders, you're talking about a team with one of the best single playmakers in the game, in addition to Antonio Brown. And if you have to put Gurley up there with Le'Veon Bell, it's a very close-knit type of competition between these two running backs. Todd Gurley's about one of the great playmakers in the NFL that we've seen in a long time. And if these Rams can find a way, and with the way Goff has played, don't think the Rams won't find a way if they get a win in the playoffs to give them some confidence. They're going to be very, very dangerous. In addition to Gurley, Robert Woods is there. They have Sammy Watkins, 2 steals they got off the Buffalo Bills. If there's any team you do not want to take lightly, it's the Rams. And if Todd Gurley goes off, the Rams go off. So we'll see how the Rams will handle their first playoffs in years. We'll see how Jared Goff handles his first playoff game, but don't count these Rams out. And now to the 2 wild cards. The Seattle Seahawks currently are one of the 2 wild cards, and it's quite amazing for a team that's had no running game this year. Russell Wilson has just completely done it all. Can elude tackles, just seems to find a way to make those big plays. And as big as Russell Wilson has been, Seattle doesn't really have those big wide receivers that you'd be scared of. But when Russell Wilson's at the helm, and they find a way. Doug Baldwin, Jimmy Graham, Richardson. Now, the one downfall for Seattle, though, and this is what's going to really hurt them. I'm not saying Seattle can't go all the way. They have enough offense to do it. The offense is there. But their defense. not having Sherman and not having Cam Chancellor could really, really possibly derail the Seahawks in the later stages of the playoffs. Could they go deep? They certainly could. But that defense and how banged up it is, I think Seattle is just not going to have enough. Maybe they get to the divisional playoff, but that could be about it for Seattle. Even though, don't get me wrong, I don't think Seattle can't go all the way. I think they could. They've won a Super Bowl, but we have to see. I just don't think Seattle's going to have enough on the defensive side of the ball to go to that next level in the playoffs. Not without Sherman and Chancellor. It just does not happen. And then the Atlanta Falcons, a team that went to the Super Bowl last year, looked like they were going to easily beat New England, only to collapse at the end. You have to wonder, did they miss their chance? I just don't feel the Falcons of this year are the same Falcons team that went to the Super Bowl last year. Even though Devontae Freeman is still there, Matt Ryan's been good, Julio Jones has been Julio Jones, you just don't get that sense that Atlanta is that team that can go all the way again. Not this year, anyway. And you worry about that. If Matt Ryan is off, the whole Falcon team is off. When Devontae Freeman doesn't have enough carries, the Falcon offense just dies. Julio Jones hasn't really had the typical Julio Jones year. Unless the Falcons turn it up a notch in the playoffs, I'm not even sure they go past the first round. May sound a little crazy, but I just don't know if the Falcons go past the first round with the way they've played this year. Their defense just hasn't been quite as crisp as it usually is, and the main important thing is if you keep Atlanta's defense on the field, they will tire out. And if Matt Ryan isn't consistent, the whole Falcons team just goes down with him. And of course, that Super Bowl that they blew last year, it's still in their mind. Obviously, they haven't forgotten it. But will the memory of that Super Bowl lead to their downfall again? We'll see. Everything's a we'll see right now. Obviously, on the AFC, unless something happens, New England will probably go to the Super Bowl again. But I'm not saying that we can have a surprise. I wouldn't. I'd like to see the Steelers-Patriots matchup again, and I think that could happen. Don't think the Steelers don't want to see New England back at Heinz Field for a rematch. They haven't forgotten that they had a game stolen from them. And don't think that they won't find a way to carve up New England's defense. The only key is, can the Steelers not make the wrong play against Tom Brady? The key to beating New England, this is how I'm going to end this video for everyone here. The way you beat New England, obviously, is to not make mistakes. But you must get to Tom Brady. You have to beat him. Don't let him beat you. If you make Brady uncomfortable, he becomes uncomfortable. Ask the New York Giants. Ask the Miami Dolphins. Ask the Denver Broncos. That's how you beat Brady. And with that, playoffs are around the corner. Will we be surprised? Will we be will it be a spectacle? What will Super Bowl 52 bring? One more week of the NFL season to go before the playoffs begin. For now, Education 10, Jonathan Perriente. Happy New Year. Ta-ta for now.